can't trust the mind at night when you're wide-eyed listening to those nocturnal fights. Best not call out in the dark, lest you summon malevolent ghosts from the past. Ooh, when the desert turns blue. And the cactus reaches out for you. The silver lake that you lay down by is boiling in the light of the moon. And you whisper a prayer for the living that dawn's coming soon. Ooh, when the desert turns blue. Ooh, and the cactus reaches out for you. It takes you in its parched, loving arms, and hanging there splayed with your face to the stars. You swallow the scorpion's tail and skim the horizon with the dust in your sails. When the desert turns blue. And the cactus reaches out for you. Ooh, take my hand. There's an underworld calling you back to the land. There's an underworld calling you back to the land. There's an underworld calling you back to the land. Welcome. I'm Biddy Healy. That was a song called Night at Lake Apache. It's brand new. And it's dedicated to a beautiful place in the Superstition Mountains, not far from the seat of the Smart Cities Conference, the city of Phoenix. And so on that note, I would like to start my set by inviting all of you, wherever you're joining from, thank you for joining me. And I want to invite you to think about a beautiful place on the country that you're on, the sacred land that you are beaming in from today. I am in Meanjin, so-called Brisbane, which is Turrbal and Yagara country. The Turrbal and Yagara people have never ceded sovereignty, and nor have the Wathaurong people of the land and waters where I grew up. Until recently, I called the Sonoran Desert home, and this next tune is the title track from my album that I released late last year now, 2020, called Salt River Bed. So the Salt River used to run the length of its course, but its course runs through the city of Phoenix. And I understand actually that some wonderful people among you are working on a project to revitalise the city's relationship to the river, which is very exciting and good for the creatures that live there. This is Salt River Bed. I was led here to a planet in decline, growing prickles and spines in the searing heat that burns you up on entry under stars that are not mine, bruised with purple, growing prickles and spines, and shallow roots searching for contact where the water goes to rest in the Salt River Bed. Your blood is wet and mine is salty, but this river is dry, and we all know why. Yes, I could tell you why. Some days the black dog is whining at my door, just hanging around, hoping I'll leave this town. But my heart found a home in the acid-washed sunset, when the desert starts to glow and the loneliness goes and the cactus turns black against the sky, and you can tell it's a lie. But if these hills could walk, they would march us away. Superstition has its place. We were left here with a planet in decline, growing prickles and spines, and shallow roots searching for water in the places where it rests in the Salt River Bed. Your blood is wet and mine is salty, but this river is dry, and we all know why. Yes, I could tell you why. Yeah, your blood is wet and mine is salty, but this river is dry, and we all know why. Yes, I could tell you why. Your superstition has its place. Yes, if these hills could walk, they would march us away. Your superstition has its place. This next tune is also from the album, and I should say the album is for 9-piece band, and I recorded it in Brooklyn with some really wonderful musicians. So this is the first time I'm playing it solo. This next tune is for anyone who's missing somebody, whether they're nearby or far away. My grandmother, my brilliant grandmother, used to break into song and dance around the kitchen. She sang in French, and she was just amazing. And when her mind was all tangled up in a mess with advanced Alzheimer's, singing was the one thing that brought her back when she was all but gone and she couldn't speak anymore. She could still sing. And so this is about her. This is Patterns of Your Mind. Grey cold, ground floor, basement lights, too bright, concrete walls and iron bones fed by steel tubes. No place like home, same old mixtape switched on for you to shoo the gloom. Smells like death and disinfectant. No floral spray can make it go away. You wonder you don't come here anymore. Been a while since you tore up the floor or wove the patterns of your mind. I go inside with Danny boy, you cling to him and I reel you in. And as I haul you to the life raft's edge, I reach for you and your face swims into view. And for a brief burst, you know my face. You strain your eyes to the cracks in the dark, and there's the woman with the cackling laugh and the clever hands and the eyes that sparked. You hardly come here anymore. Been a while since you tore up the floor or wove the patterns of your mind. Yeah, you hardly come here anymore. Been a while since you tore up the kitchen floor or wove the patterns of your mind. Ooh, 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 too late that day, but you were long gone anyway. You left waxy skin and a mischievous smile. We stood around, not talking for a while. Then we went inside with Danny boy. We clung to him and you reeled us in. And as you hauled us to the life raft's edge, we reached for you and your face swam into view. But you don't come here anymore or break into song you held on for so long. Never one to let things go to waste or miss a chance to sing. And I miss your clever hands and the eyes that sparked, and that cackle of a love. But you don't come here anymore, no. You don't come here anymore, no. You don't come here anymore, or break into song you held on for so long. Never one to let things go to waste or miss a chance to sing. This next tune is a new one. So a couple of months ago in Australia, there was this weird headline, something about a heist, the biggest heist pulled off in history. And it turns out there's billions of gallons of water missing from the Murray-Darling River, and nobody knows exactly why. Whether somebody siphoned it off for irrigation, or that their models just aren't taking account of how rapidly the climate is changing. But what everybody agrees on is that it has pretty far-reaching consequences. And about this time last year, when the fires were raging, we were all praying for rain, and the fires were so big that only heavy rain was going to be able to put them out. And our prayers were answered, and it rained, but there was nowhere for... Everything was so burnt to the ground that it was a wasteland, and there was nowhere for the water to go. So the floods swept the toxic ash into the rivers and killed aquatic life. And so, the river's dying, and there isn't a happy ending to this story. I'd like one very much. This is called Someone Stole from the River. Someone stole from the river while it was thirsting for the rain, for melted snow that never came. We looked for somebody to blame. Someone stole from the river while we were battling the fires, with creatures running for their lives, and there was nowhere left to hide. And the wild country's moaning, and the air's too thick to breathe. I'm longing to go home, but who knows what kind of home it's gonna be. Someone stole from the river while we were dancing in the rain, 'cause it was running to the sea. Its bursting banks began to strain. Someone stole from the river while we were hauling out the fish, 'cause they were drowning in their thousands when the floods put out the fires and choked the waterways with soil and toxic ash. So when the wild country's moaning and the air's too thick to breathe, and I'm longing to go home, but who knows what kind of home it's gonna be. Someone stole from the river. Billions of gallons can't be found. They sold the rocks beneath our feet, poisoned the water underground. Forests fell for the river, to salted plains baked in the sun. Now that their drinking days are done, they echo songs of rivers run, 'cause the wild country's moaning, and the air's too thick to breathe. And I'm longing to go home, but who knows what kind of home it's gonna be. 'Cause the wild country's moaning, and the air's too thick to breathe. And I still call Australia home, but who knows what kind of home it's gonna be. I apologize that the heat has made my guitar go out of tune, but it kind of seems appropriate, right? That one. So I would never leave you in a state of despair, because that would be horrible, but also we're no good to anybody if we're in despair. And so I want to leave you with a lullaby for grown-ups about, for facing the monsters in the dark with courage. And I want to say it's such an honor to be invited to perform for you all, because a group of people coming together, bring their expertise together to make good trouble, can do anything. And so I'm really happy to be part of it in a small way. I also want to thank the Smart Cities team, especially my brilliant friend, Di Bowman. Thank you for having me. This song is Close the Wardrobe Door. Come down from the land into your bed. Look the monster in the eye. Ooh. Face him down. Speak his name, and when you do, you can watch him fade. So come down from the ledge, lie beside me, baby, in this warm bed. Ooh, monster in the night. But if you do, I'll hold your hand in the dark with all my might. And you go tell that monster that I know his fucking name, to go back whence he came. Thank you. I was led here to a planet in decline, growing prickles and spines.
Wow. I don't think there is a better way to lead into a gala than listening to such beautiful music. So Bridget, thank you for sharing your talent with us. I've been watching the chat and the reception to your performance is just unbelievable. The words incredible, beautiful, keep popping up. So thank you for being with us tonight. It is my honor and privilege to get to welcome everybody to our second Smart Region Gala. It's a little different from what we hosted last year, but I'm delighted that we're all able to be here tonight to celebrate what has been an incredible year of success. It might look a little different from what we had hoped, but we still made huge progress, and what looks like an amazing year, well, in history, you won't necessarily see some of those flips. It also has set us up for an incredible next year, and part of the discussion tonight will be about what happens in the next 12 months. I want to thank everybody here tonight. I wish I could call you out all by name. We wouldn't be in the position we are today, but for the generosity, the time, the expertise, the talent of everybody at tonight's gala. So if we were in a virtual room, I would be walking the room with my glass in hand, thanking you each in person. And so while I don't get to do this year, I look forward to doing so at our next gala. There are so many people to call out, but there are a few I want to focus on. First, thank you so much to Cox for sponsoring tonight's event. It is because of them that we're enjoying the food and the wine as we sit here and engage together and gossip and talk and catch up. So thank you to Cox. I would also like to thank the University Technology Office, ASU Law, the Thunderbird School of Global Management, and the Arizona Commerce Authority, all of whom have supported this week's summit. That's on top of our amazing sponsors, partners, colleagues with the Connective. And so to all of you, I say congratulations. What an amazing year. Tonight's all about celebration, and we're so glad that you could join us to do so. On that note, I am going to hand over to my partner in crime, Dominic Papa from the Arizona Commerce Authority. Dominic, take it away.
Thanks, Di. And I couldn't have said it better. Tonight is about celebrating. And I honestly think that there are just so many amazing people in this room that you guys broke my internet and I had to call in from my phone. So I'm sorry for the poor quality, but I literally had to use my phone because there are just so many amazing people on this call. And I just want to, be brief before I turn it over to our esteemed moderator tonight, but I just want to talk a little bit about progress, right? So this is the third year that we've held, the annual Smart Region Summit. I think in year one, we were very hyper local focused. I think we had maybe over 150 people attend. We grew that attendee list by, I think, over 300 in year two. We focused on, branching out across the country. In year three, we set some really audacious goals for ourselves to see if Arizona could become a global brand and bring in a network of dreamers, doers, people that like to get stuff done from around the world to join us in our virtual event this year. Let me just talk to some of the numbers that we've experienced so far. So for those of you who don't know, the Winter Games this year, we now have over 1,200 attendees. That's 1,200 attendees. We have over 80 different presenters. And those attendees and those presenters come from 6 different continents. It's absolutely incredible. And it just goes to show you the amazing work that we're doing here in Greater Phoenix is having global recognition, and we're able to create friends and networks all across the world. So I'm really excited about the brand that Arizona is becoming through the Smart City, Smart Region, and Smart State initiative. So as Di mentioned, just a couple of people I really think we need to thank. You know, this last year was really setting the foundation of the Connective, right? We officially turned 1 year old in November, and so there's a lot of people we want to thank, but in particular, all the people that do the behind the scenes work, all the people from MAG, GPEC, so Amy, Denise, Stefan, thank you so much for your incredible work. We really appreciate it. You know, Lev, you know, Ponch now, even though now he's gone over to NSF, tremendously excited for the leadership that you've been able to bring and help us really catalyze this movement. And of course, I want to thank, you know, my boss in visionary leadership is Sandra Watson, understanding the tremendous momentum and ecosystem we were building here and how do we now scale it out across the entire state. Without all of them, we wouldn't be where we're at today. But there's one person in particular that Di and I wanted to make sure we gave a special shout out to, and that's Brian Dean. He's a program manager of the Connective. And without him and all the hard work he puts into building the structure, the processes, the workflows, wrangling in me and Di on a daily basis, we would not be where we're at today. So Brian Dean, special thanks to you. Without you, there would be no Connective. So thanks a lot, buddy. Really appreciate your leadership. So without further ado, I'll stop talking. Di will stop talking. This night, we just get to sit back and enjoy. It's with real honor and pleasure that I get to introduce someone that I look up to both personally and professionally. That's Dean Doug Sylvester from the Sandra Day O'Connor College of Law, a place where I just graduated from less than 6 months ago. And Dean, I'm going to have to ask you, is it true that, you know, while I'm a student, I have to do a lot of what you say, but now that I've graduated, you have to do things that we ask as an alum? And is that why you're participating in tonight's event?
Yes, there's just no question that I can't say no to an alum. It's as long as you give me your bank account, I'll say yes every single day. Well, Dom, first of all, congratulations, obviously, to you personally on getting out of the law school. We are very glad. It only took 9 years, so congratulations to you. I want to thank, obviously, all of you for having me here today. And I just want you all to know that I know wine was delivered. And so I was told this is a gala, so I put on a tux. And I'm looking at this a little bit like the Golden Globes, and I'm Ricky Gervais. So we'll see how the rest of this evening goes. But I'm extraordinarily happy to be here. And I think this is an amazing event. I'm just watching the number of people coming in through the wait room, and very, very impressed with the extraordinary work of this group. And I think just like the Golden Globes and every night in my house when the TV comes on, I get to start this event with my absolute favorite thing, and that is a toast. In that I'm going to ask everybody here online to raise a glass or whatever you have, and let's just toast an extraordinary and wonderful first year anniversary of the Connective. And to all of you, and I know that's an extraordinary number of you that have been putting in the work, congratulations to everything you've achieved in year one. And I know just as we're congratulating you all, we're also saying cheers as we look forward to even more things in year number two. Congratulations to all of you. Oh, I'm having a drink, Dom. There's just no question. All right. So when we talk about what's been accomplished in this last year, we always have to remember, as all of us do, not only here at ASU, but obviously around the world, that COVID has had some small effects on everybody's goals and moving forward dreams in any organization. And yet, even with COVID and even with all of the challenges that really arose in the last year, the efforts of everyone in the Connective has really advanced this institution and advanced this whole project far beyond, I think, how many people thought could be done in that first year. The Connective and the cities it represents was the only US city to be recognized by the European Commission as part of their EU Intelligent Cities Challenge. That's amazing. You know, in partnership with AWS Smart City Cloud Innovation Center, the Connective has completed a number of challenges that range from reducing homelessness and graffiti abatement to water conservation, fall prevention for seniors, and I'm sure the number of projects that are going to continue to be recognized is just going to grow and grow and grow. You launched the Imagine Academy Veterans Pilot with the Maricopa County Community Colleges. That's just an incredible event. You helped build out remote student success program framework for the entire state. So and you submitted what, at least 6 large grant proposals to help fund some of the proposed programs of work. I would hope Ponch is going to start saying yes to a lot more of those. And so really, I know that it's not my job to talk all night long. We're going to hear a lot more about the extraordinary work of the Connective, but that's just a few of the accomplishments of the last year. Going just a little bit further, why do I support this program? Why am I here in a tux? 1, because I like to look like a dandy. 2, because I really believe in the work that the Connective has done. Over this last summer when COVID hit, I know that our students really were struck by the number of firms and experiences they had lined up for the summer falling apart. And people like Di Bowman and everybody involved in the Connective stepped up. We had 14 of our students having unbelievable experiences this last summer. I know Thunderbird had at least 2 as well. And I know other programs are going to get more and more involved with this as time goes forward. Our students were able to work on all sorts of interesting programs, things as a Canadian I still haven't figured out, regional metric and standards programs and data governance and regional procurement and the Innovation Sandbox program. It's really just an extraordinary set of accomplishments for our students, experiences, and it shows once again how all of ASU and the law school and Thunderbird and so many others are so connected to our community because our community connects with us as well. And we never want to forget that. So we are really looking forward to more and more involvement with the Connective. And I know what you're all waiting for is for me to stop talking and to hear from other people who are going to tell you some amazing things as we go forward. So without further ado, we're going to listen now to a video from Mayor Giles from Mesa. It just so happens that Mayor Giles is also an alum of the law school. It explains why he's so successful and is now teaching at the law school and giving back all the time. And Dom, you could have taken his class. So with any further ado, let's hear from Mayor Giles.
Good evening. I'm very pleased to be joining you all virtually for the State of the Smart Region Gala. It's fitting, right, that an event to focus on smart region initiatives would use technology to go virtual. We're all here because of our shared vision for using technology to realize an excellent quality of life and a thriving economy for our region. And we're all here because we know that to achieve our shared vision of a smart region, we must collaborate, form partnerships, and invest in innovation. These ideals are at the core of this work. If you don't mind, I'd like to begin with a personal story. This is a copy of a painting that hangs in the hallway of my house. My wife and I always loved this painting done by Mr. Kershiznik. It's called Gardening in the Rain. I never quite knew why I liked this painting. At first glance, I thought, well, maybe it's just a silly picture of a woman with a watering can in the rain. But I realized that there was a deeper meaning to this that maybe would become more clear to me as time went by. It was only recently that I looked at this painting again through the eyes that I've developed as a result of this pandemic. And I see the wisdom that this painting is trying to teach those of us who look at it. It's important for all of us that during the pandemic, during these trying times, that we understand the importance of gardening in the rain. Unless we are busy working on innovative, technology-driven, data-driven solutions during these challenges, we are going to be in trouble as we try to emerge from these challenges. 2020, as we know, was an eye-opening year. In a lot of ways, COVID-19 pulled back the curtain on issues that must be faced head-on. Educating our kids virtually and moving to a virtual workplace shined a spotlight on the need for consistent access to high-speed internet and technology. We also learned that a screen is no substitute for face-to-face interactions. Social and emotional connections are vital to health and well-being for people of all ages. And isolation is a real issue for our older generations. The pandemic reminds us to not take for granted access to basic needs like food and housing, and how quickly the loss of important connections can put us at risk. In the last year, each of us overcame personal and professional challenges we could never have predicted. And we've all uncovered needs for sustainable solutions in education, connectivity, and healthcare, to name just a few. Not just to withstand a public health crisis, but so we can come out on the other side stronger and smarter, working together toward a more integrated region. One thing we can all appreciate is the opportunity to innovate. Necessity is the mother of invention. We've all said it at least a few times in the past year. Pivot. How many times did you pivot in 2020? In Mesa, we pivoted a lot. Librarians became expert resource navigators, connecting our residents to critical assistance. Our Parks Department became expert food box distribution engineers, creating a streamlined process that kept our residents fed. Our Convention Center became a testing site for COVID-19, and our facilities team reverse engineered our buildings to welcome employees and residents back safely. I'm very proud of the way Mesa sprang to action to serve all of our residents. Our experiences during the pandemic served to reinforce the value of innovation, and I've been amazed by how we've adapted. Almost every day, we face a new challenge, learn vital new information, and develop more flexible ways of working. This has made us more prepared to go after what makes our cities, businesses, and communities stronger. In our community, we're taking the lessons of the pandemic very seriously. It's brought our smart city initiatives more clearly into focus. I'll share a few highlights. I'm proud to say that Mesa is using data to drive decision-making. In all areas of our work, we are tracking, evaluating, and adjusting course based on critical data. We're getting smarter because we're using real-time feedback to inform our operations. Smart government requires transparency, accountability, and dynamic anticipation of ever-changing needs, especially in light of advancing technology. And engaging our residents allows for increased and more meaningful interaction between decision makers and those we represent. Mesa is creating an innovation district. The transformation of Mesa's downtown corridor is remarkable to witness. The arrival of ASU at Mesa City Center is fueling economic development. The unique cross-sector partnership is a great example of the energy generated by strong collaboration. This is already proving to be a dynamic and vibrant addition to our downtown, with opportunities for entrepreneurship, education, development, and working across sectors. ASU at Mesa City Center is a 3-story academic building taking shape right this minute. It will serve as a symbol of creativity and innovation, housing programs offered by the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts. It will be one of 3 facilities to house the recently announced New American Film School. The studios at Mesa City Center is a partnership with the ASU Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute and will offer workshops, events, training, mentoring, and act as an incubator and accelerator for ideas and prototypes. Also downtown is Launch Point, the City of Mesa's incubator, and coming soon are co-working spaces, Cahoots, and Launchpad. The evolution of downtown catalyzed by these efforts and more is a true smart city investment. Mesa is piloting a program that converts food waste to energy. It's a smart way to work towards protecting our environment. Food waste is the 2nd largest category of municipal solid waste sent to landfills in the United States. It's also easily biodegradable and has high energy potential. Our goal is to produce renewable natural gas to fuel our solid waste vehicles and reduce our carbon footprint. When in place, we will also see a reduction in waste sent to our landfills and the economic benefits of reduced energy costs. Mesa is laying the foundation for improved and expanded access to broadband and Wi-Fi because smart infrastructure is the future of economic success. Mesa has approximately 110 miles of fiber optic cable installed, much of which is currently in use. We have plans to add an additional 37 miles and to complete the downtown fiber ring architecture. The fiber is foundation for increased access to high-speed internet service, which is necessary for businesses to thrive, students to succeed, residents to connect, and so much more. Like all of you, we have big goals, and they don't get achieved overnight. And like all of you, we have big goals that don't get realized by working alone. It's this group of people who will push our region forward through collaboration, partnership, and innovation. Let's face these challenges head on and plant seeds in the rain that will help us grow closer to our smart region goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Giles. I think, pivot is obviously one of the things we've all had to do and have learned during COVID, but the two ideas that he brought forward that I think really envelop what tonight is about is focus, this idea that we need to be moving forward in a focused and coordinated kind of approach. And secondly, is just collaboration. It's so easy during this last year for people to just withdraw into their own inner sphere and just focus on the one thing they do. But the more we continue to reach out to our communities and find our common bonds, it's very clear that we're able to get beyond these kinds of challenges much more quickly and able to actually achieve far more than those who have really just hunkered down and waited for this to end. So many of his words, other than my inability to plant anything and have it live, really resonate with me in every possible way. So I hope they all resonate with all of you as well. I now want to introduce another video from John Wolf, the Senior Vice President and Southwest Region Manager for Cox Communications. He's going to say a few words. You may all know that Cox is the lead sponsor for the summit. They gave $50,000 to ASU for the Winter Games. Thank you, Cox. We couldn't have put on that event without their support. Just so people know the extraordinary success of our Winter Games already. As a Canadian, obviously, I care a lot about them. More than 1,200 attendees, 80 coaches, 60 plus activities over 3 days, 15 co-conveners, and all sorts of different organizations that are involved, and on 6 different continents. We'll get there to 7 at some point. I'm sure we can make that work, and maybe we'll get the moon. It's obviously possible as well. And the only thing I wanted to say, Dom, is clearly you don't use Cox. That's why you had to call in on your phone, because they are just the best. So without further ado, John Wolf.
Good evening. I'm John Wolf, Senior Vice President of the Southwest Region for Cox Communications. And on behalf of Cox, it's our pleasure to be here with you tonight to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the Connective. Just over a year ago, Cox and ASU began serious discussions about creating an innovation lab through which both parties would collaborate in the research and the development of smart and connected solutions. And last year at this event, we and ASU jointly announced the Cox Connected Environments Collaboratory at ASU with the shared goal of empowering citizens, students, and local government teams to live and work better and more effectively. At the same time, the Smart Region, now the Connective, was launched to create and fuel a public-private ecosystem of collaboration to connect community leadership to the research institutions, advanced industries, and the high-tech entrepreneurs who are developing solutions to the real-world problems that are affecting citizens and businesses here in Greater Phoenix. At the beginning of 2020, the alignment of all of these efforts in our state set a really exciting table for the year ahead. But then, as we all know, the rest of 2020 happened. And much of what we all envisioned in early 2020 looks a little bit different now. But I can tell you that what has not changed is Cox's commitment to the goals of the Connective, as well as our great partnership with ASU. At Cox, investing in and supporting the communities where we all live and work is really part of our DNA. We understand that the next generation of community solutions will require innovation, technology, and above all else, partnerships with local governments, the state, and our state's outstanding universities. Working with ASU, the Connective, and the Winter Games allows Cox to collaborate and invest in technologies that will create smart city and smart campus applications that will enhance the lives of citizens and students. For Cox, this is a great partnership. We have a robust gig-enabled network of the future right here in the Greater Phoenix area, and that supports the creative smart solutions that will come out of the Connective. We have a dedicated team focused on smart campus environments. And despite the challenges of 2020, we did in fact launch the Collaboratory, a place where students, faculty, administration, and Cox come together to prioritize high-impact problems and develop smart campus solutions. In many ways, Cox was built for smart community solutions. We were the first private sector company and the first broadband company to support the US Ignite Smart Gigabit Communities Initiative right here in Phoenix. We established a Cox business unit focused solely on IoT. And of course, we're a founding partner of the Connective. As we all look at the challenges and opportunities that will emerge from the challenges of this 2020 pandemic, the partnership between private sector, academia, and government for collaborative solutions has never been more important. The pandemic has exposed gaps that we have in our solutions, and it has demonstrated the critical need for partnering. It has certainly shown us that most of society's greatest challenges and the need for smart solutions cannot be met by any one entity. Neither government, nor academia, nor the private sector can solve this alone. Innovative, scalable, and viable technology solutions for our communities will require all of us. With that, we are honored to celebrate the one-year anniversary of the Connective, and we look forward to kicking off this year's Winter Games. Thank you.
Thank you, John. If we think about what John was really saying, there's two things that jump out to me. First of all is just how important innovation needs to be. I work at ASU. I think we have something to do with innovation. There's some ranking we appear on among universities. We're somewhere in the top 10, I think. All I know is we're ahead of Stanford and MIT, and I believe every other university in the country. So when you're thinking about innovation, it's wonderful to have a partnership, obviously, with us. The other part that I thought really sort of hit home was how often John spoke about students and how many of us have really dedicated our lives to really educating that next generation. I know how many of you are from ASU here tonight, and it is always rewarding to see when our community provides opportunities to support our students, give them experiences, give them even broader education opportunities than we can just do on our own here at the university. That's what sparks innovation more than the university itself, is our students' drive, our students' ability to get those experiences and bring different perspectives on how to solve problems than we old faculty are always able to do ourselves. So everything that John was saying, I think really just drives home again why this Connective is so important, why these collaborations between the university and the public-private sector are how we're going to drive these solutions, and never forget just how important it is to support our students. Obviously, we work hard never to do that either. So now I wanted to both thank and introduce the providers of our sustenance here this evening. First of all, I want to thank and welcome Dawn Kennington Bahar from Benedict's Cafe Catering and Events. She's going to provide us an overview for the food tonight, although I suspect most people's brownies didn't quite make it to the event here this evening. And then secondly, I just want to also introduce and thank in advance and apologize for my attempt to pronounce your name, Craig Zadowitz from the Hidden Track Bottle Shop. We'll talk about what you're all, I hope, drinking, except those who are at 9 a.m. So Dawn, and then we'll hear from Craig.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dawn Kennington Bahar. It's nice to meet you all. And just to give you a personal background about myself, I'm born and raised in Scottsdale, Arizona. I am a Sun Devil. So if you're a Sun Devil, we always give you a wink and a nod. And if you're a Wildcat, we charge double. We're grateful that it's taken a pandemic to be in front of all of you. So we're grateful to have this opportunity. Just to give you background on the menu, just to let you know, we use in our kitchen French classical cuisine as the basis of what we do. But we wanted to give a wink and a nod to all of the local and seasonal items that are available to us at the moment. So I'm sure most of you started with your brownie first. That's what I would have done because our brownies are fabulous. If you are, however, starting your New Year's resolution, our brownies freeze very well also. So you can freeze it and, in 2 weeks when you're done with your diet, you can always sneak in and the brownie will be fabulous. The salad course has a beautiful lime vinaigrette. For our entree, we had a bone-in chicken with a poblano beurre blanc. Beurre blanc is a classic mother sauce, but we fire roasted our local poblanos, and hopefully you enjoyed the wonderful heat that was on the end. And then our beautiful roasted seasonal vegetables, I think were lovely. And the linguine with the lemon oil, the red pepper flakes and the parsley, I think is always wonderful. So we hope you enjoyed your dinner, and bon appetit to all of you. So thank you very much. And thank you to Craig, who introduced me to Dominic, and, to have this wonderful opportunity. So thanks again. Nice to meet you all. Craig, I guess.
All right. So, hi, I'm Craig Jadowitz. Very well done there, sir. And real quick, before I get into the wine, Dominic approached me about this possibility to provide a bunch of wine for a large group that would normally meet in person. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. I had no idea what you guys were about, but all this talk about partnership really is really moving. And seeing some of the names that just popped up, I've noticed you guys over the course of this pandemic. And it's really, really great to have such strong leadership represent our local community. And really, without strong partnerships, you don't have success. So with strong partnership, you build amazing success, and you win championships. Dominic, you might notice this. A little bit of a championship that Sir Dominic and I won about a year ago, but I'll let you guys ask Dominic about that at another time. So Hidden Track Bottle Shop, we have 2 locations. We're located in downtown Phoenix on Monroe and First Avenue. And then we've got another location on Camelback and Central in Uptown Phoenix. We've been around for almost 5 years, a little over 5 years now, almost 6, shoot. And we've got a cafe. So to extend on the partnership, we actually partner with Dawn from Benedict's Catering to help provide really unique European style foods, bites, pastries through our cafe. And during the pandemic, we extended that a little further, and we added additional custom made bolognese and Alfredo sauces. Again, trying to stick with the local partnerships and really extend that local vibe and provide for the community in more ways than we can try to think of. So, but without being too over dramatic with that, I'd like to go ahead and talk a little bit about the wines that you guys have. Being that this is kind of a focus on a local group, ASU, and local community, presented the idea of providing wines that were created in Arizona. So you have 2 wines that are both created and are 100% Arizona wines. The first wine is a white wine, or actually technically an orange wine. The name of the wine is FQ Story. It highlights a historic neighborhood in Phoenix. The grapes come from Wilcox, and they're left in contact with the skins a little bit. So it's technically an orange wine. There's much more to the story on that. Local winemaker is Michael Pierce, who heads up the enology program at Yavapai College in Arizona, one of the only wine programs in the state and one of the better wine programs in the region. So really kind of showcasing a fantastic at-home example of what we can do with wine here in viticulture. And then the second wine, the red, is a new product also from Arizona, from James Callahan at Rune Cellars. This is down in Elgin or Sonoyta. And that is a nice Rhone style blend. Fantastic wines. Both of these wines are showcasing varietals that do very well in Arizona. They're international varietals that are known to come out of France and Italy predominantly, but Arizona's put its mark in the wine community with these fantastic Rhone style varietals and Italian varietals. So hope you guys enjoy the wine. Thank you so much for the opportunity. This has been a pleasure, and I look forward to hearing the rest of you guys speak. Cheers.
Greg and Don, I don't know if you're looking at the chat, but I know I'm going to speak for what everybody else is already saying, is the food was phenomenal. The wine is, well, it's wine, so it's great. And so it's really just been a truly unique local set of partnerships, local wines. It's really been, I'm sure, eye-opening for many people just how great these foods and wines can be. So thank you all so much. All right, so for the remainder of the evening, I'm just going to do stand-up. No, what we're going to do now is turn to the panel, the people that, again, have been so important to drive this entire project forward. And I'm going to ask them a few questions, and you're going to be able to hear from them quite a bit about how we think the Connective is going to continue to move forward. What are our projects moving forward? And so we will try and get through that. I'm just going to quickly introduce the panelists by their titles. And then to save us a few minutes, I hope none of you mind, but when we get to the panel itself, I'm going to call you by your first names, and Major General John Wharton, I hope that's okay. So among our various panelists here tonight, we have Supervisor Bill Gates from Maricopa County. We're very excited to have you here, Supervisor. State Representative Jeff Weninger. We're very excited to hear what Jeff's going to say here tonight, representing Legislative District 17. We have Dean Sanjeev Khagram, and Sanjeev has 3 other titles from the Thunderbird School of Global Management, and that's why we have to keep this short. The President and CEO of the Arizona Commerce Authority, Sandra Watson, and then of course, Major General John Wharton, and he's now currently at One Defense. And so again, as we go through the panel, I'm just going to call you by your first names. You may feel free to call me Maestro. That would be just fine. Now, Doug will obviously be the right way to move forward. So obviously, I think as we think about what the Connective and these partnerships really represent for all of us, one of the things I've always loved, I'm not in Arizona, I've mentioned this a few times, I wasn't born in Arizona, but I love the sort of can-do attitude of Arizona, and the Connective really sort of conveys that we don't dwell on problems. We don't dwell on the things that get in our way. We work together to find solutions and to seek new opportunities. And I think that's one of the things that really comes out of this. And when we started with the Smart Region, it was really predicated on this whole idea that when it comes to technology and innovation, if we collaborate together to find these opportunities, we're going to be stronger together. And that collaboration in and of itself is going to be our real competitive advantage. And so with that kind of background and all of the breadth of activities, I really wanted to start with you, Bill, and ask, and I know you wanted to talk about the election, so that's what I'm going to ask. No, well, I'm going to ask you, Bill, you were one of the earliest political figures to put their support behind the Connective, and you've championed its work since its launch over a year ago. What made you believe in the vision, and what do you see as its major accomplishments to date?
Well, thanks, Dean Sylvester. It's great to be a part of this panel. Before I answer that question, I did want to address my attire this evening. I saw that the Winter Games casual was recommended. Unfortunately, my Lillehammer '94 Winter Olympics sweatshirt is at the dry cleaners, so that's why I went with the blazer instead. But no, thanks so much, and it is truly amazing to see what has happened here with the Connective. And I do definitely have to tip my hat to Dom, who I first got to know when he was working in my city council office in the city of Phoenix. And what he has brought together here is truly amazing. But for me, in addition to obviously that relationship with Dom, what drew me to the Smart Region effort is because it's really grounded in so many things that I have a passion for: collaboration, innovation and efficiency, and then finally, being techie. So it's got a little bit of everything in it for me. That's what certainly drew it to me. And I spent 7 years on the Phoenix City Council, but I decided to run for the County Board of Supervisors because as I got more involved in government, I saw that so many of the issues, they didn't stop at the municipal boundaries. They truly were regional issues. And that's what the Smart Region effort is all about. It really does bring it all together. And so I was really fortunate back in 2019 to be the chair of the Board of Supervisors and kind of push some of these smart initiatives at Maricopa County. And the timing could not have been better, of course, because of the pandemic. And Mayor Giles did an incredible job of explaining how we have all had, to use that overused term, had to pivot in government. But there have been a few ways that these smart efforts have really helped us at Maricopa County. First of all, it did allow us to move very quickly with our 13,000 employees, to move many of them to working from home. It also had a great impact for us in the permitting area, and I know that a lot of the municipalities have seen that. I mean, it's truly amazing the number of permits that our team was able to process in 2020, and being virtual, but it was because of the work that had been done, putting everything in place. And another big piece of the Smart Region is data and the importance of data. And I'm very proud of the efforts of our public health team in getting data out on a daily basis on COVID-19. And actually one of the people who's been instrumental in that effort, Josue Macias from Maricopa County, is on the call today. And I just want to recognize Josue and his innovation studio for all the great work that they've done.
Thank you, Bill. I'm going to next turn to Sandra. And, according to the U.S. Census Bureau's 2020 population estimates, Arizona topped the list of states that added the most residents in the past year, while another state directly to our west took a major hit, shall we say. So even in the midst of this pandemic, it appears that companies and people are swapping the far west coast for what will eventually be the west coast here in Arizona. How does the Connective and the ACA Smart State Initiative contribute to this increased population, business, and job growth?
Thank you so much for the question. And we are very proud of the fact that in Arizona, we enjoy this net in-migration. People love Arizona. They want to be in Arizona. Not only do we have beautiful weather and it's just an amazing place to live, but we also have an incredible economy, and one that is built on innovation and these strong industry sectors that are really advancing new disruptive technologies. So in Arizona, while we enjoy this amazing quality of life, we also have these amazing opportunities to advance new technologies. The Arizona Commerce Authority a few years ago established our second 5-year business plan. And at the core of that plan was the focus on emerging technologies. And we identified 10 clearly emerging technologies, which all of you are likely following. And they're extremely important to us because we want to make sure that Arizona has a strong foundation. So we set the state up in order to advance new policies. Of course, you'll get to Representative Weninger very soon, but he has just been an amazing champion for us down at the legislature to advance a number of these new disruptive technologies. Here in Arizona, we have enjoyed the first in the nation sandbox in not only fintech, but prop tech. The governor issued an executive order when he took office in 2015 to advance the testing of automated vehicles. Just across the board, when you look at new technologies under the governor's leadership, he has been very open and willing to embrace these new disruptive technologies. And so we enjoy an environment that not only is supportive of newcomers and very welcoming of newcomers, but we're also very supportive of new ideas and new advancements. And we're not afraid to start to shift our focus to ensure that we are ahead of the curve. So I think that's what people are noticing across the country. Not only are we seeing people moving into Arizona from California and our adjacent surrounding states, but also New York and other areas across the country. We're seeing an influx of people from Chicago, quite honestly, all over the place. The pandemic has, I think, provided people an opportunity with this remote work and remote learning, the opportunity to actually choose the location of choice for them and their families. And Arizona seems to be benefiting from that quite greatly. In addition to all of these policies that have been put in place that really help to set the stage, I heard Mayor Giles mention this, obviously John Wolf at Cox mentioned this, all of you have mentioned this as well, as Arizona is an incredibly collaborative state. All of the policy leaders, the business leaders, academia, and we all enjoy working together. It is sort of a passion for most of us. I think it's 70 plus people that the adult population in Arizona comes from somewhere else. I mean, I think we've all been accustomed to wanting to work together and really develop the state in a very unique and a very sort of powerful competitive posture when it comes to innovation and smart state initiatives. So when we look at our opportunity, we have tremendous opportunities across the state, not just in the metro areas, but we're looking at ways in which to bring our rural areas into this overall discussion around smart state and smart city initiatives. So I'm incredibly grateful and proud of the work that we have all done together collectively. The Connective has been just really a strong foundation and allowing sort of the rest of the state to participate in that with the joining of the Southern Arizona region, smart region, allows us to start to really connect our metro areas and then bring obviously our rural areas and the entire value proposition that they bring to this overall discussion. So I think there's a tremendous amount of activity going on here in Arizona, and there's still a lot of work to do, but I'm very, very confident that working together, we are going to be a leader in innovation.
Number one, I think, is what we should shoot for, Sandra. I think
absolutely, no question. And to your point, I will say that congratulations. I mean, ASU has enjoyed the, being the most innovative university in the country, not just 1 year, not 2 years, but definitely 6 years in a row. So we are so proud of that ranking, and could not thank all of you enough for continuing to focus on innovation and advancing our state in a way that's very, very productive for all of us.
Well, thank you for the great work of the ACA. Before I turn to our next panelist, I just wanted to let everybody know that we will be leaving some time, I hope, for questions and answers from the audience later. If you have a question for any of our panelists, please just post it on the chat, and then Di Bowman and Dom are monitoring it, and will let us know whether we have time and which questions we'll be able to answer. So feel free to post them as we go along. So my next panelist is somebody I know a little bit. Hi, Sanjeev. And when we think about innovation, one of the things I know that you have been extraordinarily successful at, certainly in ways that I have not, is really finding ways to connect academia and the public sector together in partnerships. I know you've worked extraordinarily closely with LA Mayor Eric Garcetti and the city of Los Angeles to help them implement the UN Sustainable Development Goals. I mean, universities, I think you'll agree, have not typically been key players in smart cities and region space, despite these expertises that we clearly have. Why have you been so successful in building these partnerships, and how do you see ASU, including Thunderbird, furthering the work of the Connective and building out smart regions beyond Arizona and even the United States?
Well, thank you so much, Dean Sylvester. And it's just an honor to be on the panel with Supervisor Gates and Representative Weninger, President Watson, and Major General Wharton. We're looking forward. It's our wonderful smart building that's going to join that great building of yours, Doug, in downtown very soon. We want to invite you all November 4th to 7th, when we're all going to be able to get back together to open that smart building as part of the Smart City and Smart Region, Smart State initiative. I want to congratulate the leaders of this initiative across the Connective. Certainly Dominic Papa, and I'm a little biased, as you all know, with Di Bowman, but also Lev Gonik and UTO and all of the great leaders that have done it. What I've learned, Doug and everyone, over 25 years of building cross-sectoral partnerships around the world, is that what we came up with is a life cycle approach. And basically there's 4 stages: catalyzing, launching, enhancing, transitioning. And what the leaders of this initiative across the public sector, obviously ASU, and the private sector, civil society, NGOs have done, we would have asked of anyone building these. You build on what already exists. There's already a tremendous set of assets in the city, in the county, in the region, in the state. Number 2, mapping and connecting issues and stakeholders in ways that they haven't before, in deeper, more connected ways. Number 3, identifying and achieving a set of early wins. Doug, you listed them off. Dominic did as well. These incredible early wins to get momentum and energy and positivity. Very clear about the value proposition, which Supervisor Gates really said. It's about connectivity, it's about vibrancy, it's about efficacy, and it's about then inclusion, which is another big hallmark. Of course, we've talked a lot about innovation, but the other big hallmark for us at ASU, and I believe here in the state of Arizona, is we judge ourselves by who we include and not who we exclude. So when you think about what has been done, assembling all the key stakeholders, creating an inspiring vision and a value proposition, linking folks together, achieving early vision wins, and then, you know, continuing to experiment, test, learn, be willing to fail, be willing to succeed, enjoy both, and keep going. It's been a remarkable thing to watch. Certainly for us at Thunderbird, you know, we had a wonderful event on the smart city, and we really showcased what was happening here and around the world in Nairobi and Los Angeles, many other places at the World Economic Forum. This was just as the pandemic was emerging. Little did we know we would be here, you know, 10 months later. This was back last late January. We were very excited when, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, when we started to work with Mayor Gallego, and we'll be launching this new very big initiative that's going to be connected to the Connective on Phoenix Global Rising. So we just are so optimistic as everyone about the future. It's been a tough time, and we've really been focusing on 3 principles, which I know all of our leaders have been. Number 1 is everyone's health and safety and well-being, and that means not only their physical health and safety, but emotional, psychological, spiritual. Number 2, delivering excellence in every way that we can, and that's what the Connective really has done. But 3, exercising global leadership. And for us at Thunderbird, as you know, Doug, our mission is to advance sustainable and equitable prosperity worldwide. We very much agree with President Watson that we have to be at the forefront of the 4th industrial revolution, those 10 or 12, we would say, technologies that we must be winning at. And so we want to partner closely with all, with the Commerce Authority and everyone to make sure that we in Phoenix and Maricopa and the state of Arizona are at the forefront of global leadership of the 4th industrial revolution. So we're excited to join you downtown next year with this great new building, and the Connective is going to be a central part of everything that we do in partnership with everyone at the ASU, at the law school, with our great partners across government, but also the private sector and civil society.
Thanks, Sanjeev. You know, I know we've talked about innovation, but it's incredible how much optimism there is at places like ASU and Phoenix, that you hear from other people. You know, they just sort of, again, they've hunkered down and waiting for this to end. And it's just always so inspiring to see people just getting things done and moving us forward. And these kinds of partnerships are exactly how they get done. So I couldn't agree more. You know, Jeff, I got a question for you. I just took a couple of shots at California because it's fun. And one of the ways that we want to be able to be different, perhaps, than the way California has gone in some ways, is as we sort of build the economy that ACA and others are focused on, as we focus on smart cities, we want to make sure our future is ultimately truly sustainable and resilient. And the theme of the evening has been partnerships. So what critical partnerships do you think we need to create to build a sustainable and resilient future for our lovely state of Arizona?
Well, thank you all for doing this. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being leaders in this thing. I'll say right off the bat, wine, we're drinking some fabulous wine tonight. I think Craig did it, and he mentioned a couple people, Michael Pierce, who I've met, and James Callahan, and I've toured wineries all over this state, and we're beating California, or getting there in that, because we have really great wine in Arizona and very eclectic, and this is becoming tourism spots, and wine is collaborating with beer, and I see Santan collaborating with vineyards, and we have Maynard Keenan, who's lead singer of Tool, who's a very interesting eclectic fellow who's really leading. And so there's collaborations in everything. But I think going forward, we are showing that really good example. I can remember 20 years ago, before I got involved in government, where each city, and Sandra might remember this from her City of Chandler days, each city would compete for malls and give them back, sorry, my Siri jumped up. Each city would compete for these huge malls and give them these huge tax breaks to do it. And we just don't do that kind of thing anymore, and that's good. And I've really seen over these last few years, the cities collaborating, the cities and state, who sometimes there's that natural tension, collaborating. I worked with Sandra, I worked with the telecom companies, and I worked with the cities to come up with an agreement on 5G and 5G deployment, which I just thought was so important in our competitiveness with Asia and Europe and different people to be at the forefront of that. And the cities and counties, I got to give it to them. They came forward in something that they initially would be scared of, the state kind of stepping on their toes, and we're a real partner. And we came to an agreement. And lots of companies collaborate. I mean, a lot of times when we have these bills that we run, we see companies who are huge foes of each other, but they're there at the table looking for collaboration on regulatory reform. I mean, that is one of the natural advantages I think we have. We need a safe environment, but having a regulatory environment that isn't just that way because that's the way we've done it for 30 or 40 years, because this is the way it's always been done. And, you know, somebody doesn't want to kind of learn a new way and kind of push things forward. And I think it's just good for either it's legislators or, you know, I've collaborated a lot with ASU and your law department, which has been amazing on things like blockchain. What a leader that they have been on things like that. And I think it's good that we collaborate and we're not getting so focused on one thing. Sandra has done an incredible job, Chris Camacho at GPEC, and Christine Mackey at City of Phoenix, and just leaders all over the state, Steve Zylstra, of making sure we're creating multiple verticals and not just, we got really in love with real estate up to a certain point. The recession hit and we saw how much that hurt us because we had a few other things, but we were so wildly dependent on real estate, where now that we have this diversification, I think we are just so much better set up for the future and not be afraid of a vertical if we think it's kind of small, because as we can see with these things, whether it's the wearables work that's being done or blockchain or fintech or all these different things, one, there can be a lot of collaboration in multiple industries that go into that. I mean, look at produce down in Yuma and tracking where it's going and blockchain. That's kind of a marriage of things that you probably wouldn't have thought of before. So I'm just excited about the diversity of companies, the collaboration that people from business to academics to government, that everybody is having. I'm excited for the future. I think we're on the right path. We just got to stay on this path and keep going forward.
Thanks, Jeff. I couldn't agree more. My next question is for John. And you obviously bring a unique perspective to the smart cities based on your more than 3 decades of experience with the U.S. Army, and more recently as a civilian advising the U.S. government on national security and technology acceleration in support of national priorities. So knowing what you do, given your background, given this perspective, what do you see as some key priorities for the Connective, and what specific technologies do you see as potential game changers for us?
Yeah. Well, Dean, thanks so much for having me, and distinguished guests. Thanks for all the words. When I listen to what you're saying, it's really refreshing to me from a national level, because, you know, I look at Arizona State as being the leader, if not the lead, for many things in science and technology. Now, my background is I led the Army's research and development. I had the 13,800 scientists and engineers. I had 75% of the Army's R&D budget. I had over 1,500 CRADAs with universities, 1,000 with industry, $6.2 billion budget to work with. So, and of course, global in about 100 different countries where we had scientists and engineers. So that's part of the background. And in the private sector, I've been able to communicate that and do some of the same work that I did in the military. But let me try to tie a little bit of a different angle for you. You know, the challenge here obviously is post-COVID. For the nation, it's economic recovery. And we're in a race for economic recovery. So the opportunity that I see for Arizona State, besides all the great things that you've done, is as an institution, you're now positioned to really lead the nation and lead this recovery from what you do here in Arizona State. So from the national security standpoint, let me just give you a couple thoughts. You know, we talk in terms of elements of power. You know, they're diplomatic, they're informational, they're military, they're economic. So when you think about the informational and the economic, you have a direct result and impact on what we're trying to do at a national level, right? So when you think about what does a smart city, a smart region, the connective tissue that you need, whether it's energy, and you look in the sectors of all the things energy, clean, renewable, high capacity grids, solar panels, whatever, intelligent infrastructure, intelligent airports, transportation, manufacturing, mobility, smart government, healthcare, fintech, education, and all, combined and connected by this network. And then we can get data-driven decisions. We can make decisions quicker, faster, better. We have edge grid solutions and so on and so forth, everything that you already know. But it really is about the recovery. Now, you asked me for a couple points that I would give you on priorities for the Connective. And I would just say a couple things that most of you have already said them. So it's really repeating there. But I always, when I'm out and about overseas, visiting countries, and I remind everyone, like in Puerto Rico, I was asked, can you help us put in a smart connected island? And I say, well, have you thought about the people? Have you thought about the UN Sustainable Goals? I said, because you can quickly outrun with technology. You have 43% poverty rate. You have so many, half of your island doesn't have communication or power even. So you have to be sensitive to that fact. So when I talk in terms of technology and smart connected cities, regions, economic zones, it's making sure that, what are we trying to do here? There's a science, there's a technology, a capability. What is our desired effect? If we're not improving the life and quality of people, like Sanjeev was talking about from UN development goals, and are we on target? So in my mind, there's an objective condition for smart, sustainable cities. You will lead that. In the meantime, we have to bridge the economic and social divide. Right now, broadband, rural broadband, we can't get all our kids to school. I'm helping with HBCUs. I ran the HBCU for the Army, ran a small business. So we're trying to tie STEM and bring all this under and have distributed and broadband across states and across the nation so that we don't have disadvantage and leave folks out. So this globalized knowledge, we're in this knowledge-based economy. So we have to think about that. We have to strike the balance between those social economic goals. The one thing I tell folks when they think about smart connected, this, is how do you synchronize, coordinate, integrate across all the silos? If left alone, each industry will do their own independent thing. How do you synchronize? What's the master plan? Who provides governance? Who oversees that to make sure you're doing the right thing? And then the last kind of comments on what I see for Arizona State, which is postured unlike anyone else, is, you have this center of excellence and you want to run with that center of excellence. You want to extend that enterprise. And it's regional, it's city, but you go national, and then you want to go international. And through the work that everyone is doing that I've heard, that's what you're doing. You're extending that network and you're pushing it out there so you become that hub, that center of excellence, and you reach out and bring in everyone else into you. It's going to be about public-private partnerships, and it's going to be understanding the environments that we operate in and the domains, right? Because there's mountainous, there's rural, there's places in different countries we can't get communication to. So my last comment on recommendations is, I think you have an obligation to give back and help the country in its recovery. And how do you do that? Well, you have to tell your story. You have to get it out there. You have to do the strategic messaging. You have to let people know what you're doing and get it out there so people come to you, and that'll increase that enterprise. Now, I won't take a lot of time on the game changers. You know what they are, whether it's the fourth offset strategy, combination of the third, there's a military look at it, there's cyber, the network. Think about the pandemic. Right now, we're putting in a national biotech center because we had a paper written prior to COVID, didn't get acted. It was a directive from the White House, but we found a policy execute gap. So we're working that very hard. Quantum is going to be there. Computational science is going to be there. Advanced manufacturing, autonomous systems, manned-unmanned teaming. We led the national effort to get quantum moving. It was all in the hands of the scientists. And unfortunately, I had 23 Nobel laureates at Army Research Lab that we had fund their research. If we keep funding it, they're going to keep it there. But now we got to make it and get it over to the hands of the operators who can translate that into a capability. So up in Newport, we worked the quantum information to get quantum out of the hands, not just out of the hands of scientists, keep it there, keep them working, but now let's operationalize that, because globally what we're trying to do is keep economically competitive get our economy going so that the dollar remains the currency of choice internationally. So let me stop there. We could go on and on. I just appreciate the opportunity to give you a different view of what we look at nationally, and when I'm out internationally, of telling the story and linking in some of the things we're doing. Thank you, Dean.
No, thank you so much, John. It's, we've just heard a little bit about some of these game changers and this relationship between the federal and state. And so Sandra, I have another question for you. Let's assume, obviously, that the federal money through the coronavirus relief package and government spending bill all get fully funded and get distributed to the states in a very timely manner. Obviously, what's important, and we just heard about, it's not just about recovery. There's also about looking forward. What do you use these funds for? What is the ACA's position to help the state leverage this potential influx of money to have Arizona remain the best place in the country to test, launch, and scale the kinds of emerging technologies that John just talked about?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so a package was just passed, as you all know, and part of that package included the continuation of the Paycheck Protection Program to allow our small businesses to continue to operate in this very challenging environment. But resiliency is critical and paramount, and in the strategy that we're focused on, making sure that our businesses have the resources that they need. So the PPP program is a great program. It required some fixes. Representative Weninger, again, was very focused on this program and making sure that that program was not only available to small businesses, but was functional and actually provided the right kind of relief. And so there were some tweaks that he had suggested and some tweaks that, in working with the broader community, that we were able to gather and get to our delegation to ensure that that made it into the bill. So we saw some fixes. So I would almost say maybe a modernized version of PPP, allowing companies to continue to apply for a second round. So that's the first thing, making sure that they've got the capital they need in order to advance and continue to advance their businesses in this very challenging environment. Additionally, the dollars, the much needed dollars for broadband assistance, and really focus on expanding the access points for broadband. Of course, not only, we're an organization that's very much focused on the economy and making sure that we're building an economy that, is a long, it's looking at it from a long point of view and being much more strategic. The immediate challenge we had, obviously, is especially in the remote learning environment, where the schools ended up having to go shift their strategy completely into this remote learning environment. And yet many of our districts or students did not have access to either the technology or the ability to connect. So the idea that there are dollars dedicated, the governor led an effort to ensure that we had some funding to begin that expansion of broadband in our rural areas when the pandemic started. So we launched a pilot program, but we'll be able to continue that. I think Congress allocated about $7 billion to advance broadband in this past bill. So we'll be able to access some of those dollars. We've already developed a plan and a strategy to ensure that Arizona continues to get its fair share so that we can get those dollars out to the areas that need it the most. So the broadband piece is critical. We're also seeing that and you talked about being the best place to test, launch, and scale new ideas, new companies. And we want to make sure that Arizona continues to be at the forefront of that. And we put together a boot camp, which continues today. Back in, I think it was April, when we knew that our companies needed resources and the expertise in order to not only manage through the pandemic, but to really focus on what's next. Providing resources to companies so that they can begin to digitize a lot of their structures so that they can continue to operate in this global economy. So a number of issues, just trying to make sure that those things move forward. But in addition to that, and I think everyone here has made the point loud and clear, that advancements in new technologies, John talked about quantum networks and the importance of advancing that strategy. We were very fortunate that U of A received $26 million to create a quantum network center here in Arizona. So again, advancing a number of these new technology areas, working with our partners, both in the private sector and with academia, to advance our initiatives that we started back in 2015 with IAM, the Institute for Automated Mobility, and really making sure that we continue to advance those partnerships. That Intel came in as a founding partner, State Farms and Exponent, really driving the private sector, but the public sector partners with MEG and PEG, and obviously the governor's office and ADOT and our public services, bringing as many people together to advance these technologies. There's a number of other areas, as you can imagine, that we're focused on, working very closely with ASU on some of these technology breakthroughs, as well as our other two universities. So I feel that we just continue to keep focused. The pandemic obviously has created an opportunity to really see where those gaps are. And it was also mentioned that diversification of our economy is critical and important. And we continue to strive to ensure that we are not only diversified, but that we are forward thinking and developing the right technology so that Arizona is seen as a state where breakthroughs and disruptive technologies continue not only to be discovered here in our state, but we can advance those strategies into commercialized businesses. I could go on forever, but I think we're limited time, so I will I will send it back to you.
Thanks, Sandra. You know, a very similar question here, actually, for our more legislatively inclined, Bill and Jeff. I'd like to hear from the two of you, really sort of a similar question, but maybe thinking more, not just about specific technologies, but how could we use federal stimulus money to build innovation platforms that we can bring people together that would overall increase the competitiveness of the state and the region? And once again, same sort of point, allow us to be a great place to prove and scale and launch new technologies. So I'll let the two of you fight it out who's going to speak first, but it's tough to do digitally.
All right, I'm happy to take a run at that, and I think it's a fantastic question. The beauty of what we're dealing with here has been great support from our congressional delegation and putting the funds in the hands of local government, state government, to address the many challenges that we've had. We were very fortunate at the county to be able to put $30 million towards addressing the digital divide. And I'm happy to hear so much talk about broadband this evening, because that is the key to everything. And I want to recognize Jeff for his great work in the legislature that really laid the groundwork for Arizona to be a leader in this area. But what's particularly interesting, and I think a great challenge for this group to take on, is that it is both an urban and a rural challenge within Maricopa County itself. In my district, District 3, I have folks, towards the southern end of my district that had problems getting online with the digital learning. So we've been able to support the developing broadband there. And then you go all the way to the northern part of my district in New River. And out in that area, you also have very limited broadband. So that is a key piece to all this. And I think that we can make a big impact here. But what the Connective has done is brought so many folks together on one platform to take these funds and look at how specifically we can build things moving forward. And I want to recognize, my colleagues on the Board of Supervisors who've been supportive of this, including Jack Sellers, who's on with us today, again, the state legislature. And what we've seen, and I think the value of this, is that you see the municipalities developing their own vision of what smart cities are, but it's all rolling up to the smart region approach. So it's really what I guess I'm trying to say here is that we've got all the minds here to develop something that's going to be just right for this region. And, you know, with out of the tragedy of COVID-19, we do have the funds that allow us to build something great and that can be sustainable. But it's something that we've got to be focused on. And hopefully, as we move forward in 2021, we can get away from some of the distractions, frankly, that have been out there and focus on these challenges. And I know that everyone on this call is committed to that.
I guess I don't want to repeat anything what Bill said. He did a great job. I guess I definitely agree with everything he said, and the fact that individual cities in the state are using this money for some of those things. And then also those opportunities, you know, to backfill because you're using things for one aspect that you might be paying for anyway. So maybe some of the normal general fund can be can go towards some of these other initiatives. But I want to say also, and it goes back to what Sandra's done such a great job of, is the education part of business owners. I have been astounded by how many business owners, because they're working their butts off trying to survive this pandemic, who don't know about these things. And we talked about the PPP, and I heard the rules written by the SBA. I read right before I got on here, are coming out tomorrow night. But there's a real Easter egg in this new bill. I know there's a lot of what people think are bloated in the whole thing also, but is the employee retention tax credit. And the way I read it is it's retroactive and it goes forward for these 2 quarters, and you can use it even if you've engaged with the PPP. And I just think we have to get that information out to our small business owners, because it is substantial as long as you've had a reduction in sales or you've been under a shutdown, a partial or full shutdown order of your industry. And so I think education is a large part of this, making sure we find out after the SBA writes the rules and different things of how to communicate that to business owners so they know that they can take advantage of it and act as a bridge through this.
Thank you both. John, I want to go back to you if I can. Again, we've talked a lot about the federal government to Arizona. What do we do? How are our roles going to play here? But where do you see some potential partnership opportunities with Connective with the federal government? And what do you think some of these projects might look like?
Appreciate the question, and I am really enjoying the discussions from everyone else talking, because it just gives me a confidence feeling there. You know, it's a great question, and what I tell everyone, just like when industry says, "How do I do business with the government? Who do I talk to?" and all this, it's really a complicated process, right? Because when you're a university, you're doing basic and applied science. 60% of my R&D funding, that 6.2 billion, went to BA level 1, which was basic science. That goes to the universities. So one of the things which you have, and you're competing and doing all the different SIBRs, small business innovative research things, is where are you for basic and applied science? That's prime university territory. What I like that you're doing is that you're expanding beyond, which is what I teach many universities, expand beyond the basic TRL levels 1 through 3, and you start getting into demonstrating, prototyping, and then engineering technology, and then you being able to go ahead and market it. So when you ask that question from it's important to understand where the product is in a technical readiness level, because it may go to a research lab, it may go to a program manager, it may go somewhere else. So basic applied, you know, you want to talk to all the labs from the services when you're talking about basic applied services, science. When you're talking about concept development, engineering, prototyping, demonstrating, you're going to the research centers that are out there that each service has. If you're going to market and commercializing, you're talking to program managers who will then put the requirement in for cutting a contract. So by you organizing, and the model for universities is not just staying in the basic and applied science. It's doing exactly what you said earlier. And what that is you also now have an incubator. You have now an accelerator. And what we were doing with a lot of universities is using that PPP to help fund those accelerators, use it for allowing graduate students get their PhDs by doing something that's related to something that we need for the government. So just a couple points I would say there. There's many accelerators out there. I've been writing, frankly, on the Atlantic about my concern is that we're throwing money in the wrong direction. What gets transitioned back to the government versus how much we're spending. That's the things when you hear the Defense Innovation Unit, the AFWorks, the SoftWorks, all these accelerators from the services. But where I think you ought to think about, or three areas, maybe four, is one is housing and urban development. I'm an advisor there. There is a lot of money. And one of the things we would want to do, and for underserved, underprivileged, for broadband, for Hispanics, for HSIs, for all the different types of organizations, HBCUs, is find who that regional administrator is for your region. And bring that person in and have a discussion with that regional administrator, and I can help facilitate that. But that person has access to funding for single family, multifamily, underserved, other capabilities and other programs that they can offer, STEM funding and things of that nature. So that would be a very key person and has a lot of capability when we talk about broadband, like we said. DHS, when you talk about cyber and critical infrastructure and protecting edge of grid solutions, the DHS, the FEMA, you know this because I know you're so well embedded here, and same with the Department of Energy and the Department of Education. So those are areas to go to, but as you're thinking through technology that you're developing, each one has a different target based on where that technology is in the progression of the technology readiness levels. And is it ready to transition, get marketed, or is it still a concept in basic and applied science or whatever? So Dean, those would be just, it's a good Rubik's Cube kind of question, but I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
No, great answer. Thank you. And lots to think about and lots more we could talk about, obviously. Sanjeev, you've already teased us once by mentioning the Phoenix Global Rising Initiative that the Thunderbird School of Global Management recently has started to launch with the city of Phoenix. How do you see an initiative like Phoenix Global Rising connecting with the Connective and helping it make the greater Phoenix region into the kind of global destination that we know Thunderbird is going to make happen?
Well, thank you, Doug. And I'm wary that we're over time and we want to get everybody to their brownies that they already ate at lunchtime. So I'll be quick. Look, Phoenix Global Rising is very much embedded in the Connective. Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the country, as we know, the fastest growing city in the United States. It should be a global city in every way. We know that with previous leadership of great mayors and certainly with leadership of Mayor Gallego, we have a champion. The pandemic has shown us again that, of course, we live in a global world. Sometimes, unfortunately, very negative consequences, but we believe on balance, certainly at Thunderbird over the last 75 years, the borders frequented by trade seldom need soldiers, that the world should be brought together. And Phoenix has to be, in our view, a beacon of light of a globalization 4.0. So Phoenix Global Rising is really, in some sense, a focus effort within the broader framework of the Connective to raise Phoenix to that level of globality that it should be, connecting all the great organizations we already have that are doing work, but have been coordinating, but not deeply collaborating. The Global Chamber, the Phoenix Council on Committee on Foreign Relations, and so many others, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, so many incredible organizations, the Rotary clubs, the AFS, you name it, right? Are incredible groups that are working with immigrants and refugees. It's both to foster even greater international trade and finance and investment, to create build on our greater sister cities network that our sister cities organization has developed, to take the Connective model and get it populated around the world, but also learn from incredible experiments that are very similar to the Connective that can enable us to be better. And really to show that we are, going back to these two eyes that we've been talking about at ASU, the most innovative and the most inclusive global city in the world. So we're really excited. We're just launching this with the mayor. It's part of our contribution back, thanks to the city of Phoenix, and their contribution to our great new global headquarters downtown. But with our 46,000 alums at Thunderbird, and of course the hundreds and thousands of alums at ASU around the world, we believe that we have a great opportunity to do more international flights. And we believe that the pandemic is, rather than retreat away from the global, this is our time to really create the new global world that we want for the 21st century. And we're very excited to contribute to that.
It's another great optimistic vision for the city and the university. It's fantastic, Sanjeev. Well, I have been informed by the producers that we need to inform the affiliates. We're going to run a couple minutes over. So I don't think we're going to have time to really answer any questions that might have been on the board. I actually think Dom and Di have already answered most of them. But those of you who haven't had a chance to see the chat, there's an extraordinary amount of information and kudos that are going on there. But I don't have any more questions left. I'm out. But what I thought is that we would let Bill sort of take us home here a little bit, because this is your second year on the panel, Bill. And so I just wonder if you have any sort of final thoughts for our attendees or for the audience. We'd love to hear them.
Well, thank you, Dean. I agree that there's a great amount of optimism in this panel and this discussion. I'm very excited. But I think the one thing that we all need to keep in mind as business leaders in education, nonprofits, and particularly for those of us in government, is not everyone out there shares the same excitement for technology that we have. Some people are very distrustful of technology, and there's a lot of misinformation going on. We're all very much aware of that right now. So what we need to do as we do this and we move forward with this wonderful project, I think as we expand technology and use it to make everyone's life better, we need to make sure that we do it in a responsible way, and that we bring our constituencies and we bring our stakeholders along with us. Because if we get too far ahead of them, that can create great resentment. And unfortunately, we're seeing some of that already. But again, I don't mean to put a damper on things, but I think we all need to consider that, because if we do that in the right way, it's exceptional what the opportunities that lie ahead for the world and for this region in particular. So I thank each and every one of you for being a part of this, and that was a wonderful meal. Thank you very much. I truly enjoyed it.
Well, the tie's undone, and we're getting near the end. I just, for all of our audience and for each of you, I just want to once again thank our panelists, Supervisor Bill Gates, State Representative Jeff Weninger, Dean Sanjeev Khagram, President and CEO of ACA Sandra Watson, and Major General John Wharton. Thank you all for an incredibly interesting and informative discussion. I love when I get to speak for 150 people that I'm not seeing, but I know I speak for all of them when I say thank you. It was incredibly helpful. What a great evening, in the sense that I'm leaving you all, but most importantly that it was so much optimism, so much discussion about partnership and moving forward and responsibility. The entire state, our entire region, the nation, and global. It's really just hard to imagine a more optimistic and impressive set of ideas coming together. The work of Dom and Di and everybody at the Connective, really just have to say thank you. And just like Ricky Gervais, I want to end by saying I've had too much to drink. And most importantly, you should never ask me back, Di. And if you do, I'm clearly going to cut your salary. But to all of you, thank you for coming here tonight. Please enjoy the rest of the Winter Games and all of the events that are coming up. And if I leave right now, I'll catch the second period of Canada-US. So have a great evening, everybody. And thank you for being here.